Hey, y'all. Welcome to Marcy in the Middle, a podcast about transitions and the middle of life. Here we talk about everything from relationships to finding your place in the world and lots more. We'll talk with friends from all walks of life and find out what they've learned along the way. So whether you feel young or old or somewhere in between, this is the place for you. Welcome to the middle. Well, welcome to Marcy in the Middle. Today's guest is Kelly J. Norman, and you guys have met her last year. She was actually episode 1, and I thought it would be fun to do a New Year's check-in with Kelly because she is a holistic coach. I'm going to let her explain a little bit about what that is. She is also an author. She's a wife, mom, minister. She does a lot of things, and she just got a lot of wisdom in the area of personal development. And so welcome back to the podcast, Kelly.
Hey, thanks for having me on. It was awesome seeing your name roll across my phone here and invite me on. I was like, yes.
Yay. Well, hey, I appreciate it. I forgot to say she did some podcasts as well. She has, are you still podcasting?
I have some on there right now, so they can go listen if they have it.
Yeah. Yes, it's great material. And well, let's just kind of jump right in. I'm going to look at my notes on my phone here.
Okay.
I thought it would be interesting if you just kind of told us a little bit about kind of what is the Lord working with you personally on, and do you have like a theme or anything that you sense like 2024 might be happening just for you personally or in the worldwide situation?
Not very long ago, I posted that I was thankful that I only wrote one book. Because so many things that I have operated from, or God is just really doing a work in me that I can't say, that I am the same that I was a year from now. And I got a hold of a guy, his name is Jamie Winship. And so if anybody out there, go Google him. He's on a lot of podcasts. It was a really cool story how I got in front of this guy, and he has an amazing story. But so I've sat underneath his teaching and his encouragement, and the Lord has, through people in our lives help bring revelation to us.
Yeah, they do.
Brought him into my life to really bring some revelation to me. And 1 John 4:16, you'd asked me if there is a certain scripture that I had in my life right now. And it's really simple. And it is, God is love.
Simple, but not necessarily easy.
Yeah. Well, and there's also a scripture that says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. And I don't know about you, Marcy, but I mean, is it really doable? Like, can you love God with every fiber in your being? I mean, like sometimes when I'm at a high in worship, or like some days when I'm feeling super spiritual, for a lack of better word, but it was somewhat of a struggle for me to get that. And when God showed me, he says, Kelly, I am love. So if God is love, then I can love with all my heart.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just sit in that for a second. And God is just expressed through love.
Yeah.
And so he's just really showing me right now about who he is in that form of love. I mean, really, Marcy, I'm realizing that I'm not as important and powerful as I've ever thought I was. I mean, people say, no, I don't think I'm that. Well, are you worrying? Are you thinking that you got power to really affect the things in your life?
Yeah.
You become a mom, you wear this like responsibility thing. My aunt said, she just passed away. I love her. We're having her service this next week, but she always said, when you birth that first child out, they give you that badge and it says guilt, and you get to wear that.
That's right.
But I'm not big enough to mess my kids up or to fix this or to fix that. My responsibility is to be an expression of God. And what is God?
Mm-hmm.
God is
love.
Yeah. And if I
Right.
can just, my mission right now is if I can take somebody's hand and put them in the hand of the Father and say, you know what, this is love, and love has all the answers.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't have all the answers, but someone does.
In the religious world, I think somehow there becomes all this pressure on us. We can allow.
I do too.
And I just am going back to a simplified place right now in my life, and God is just showing me, I mean, how is it that that God can be so complex that the mysteries of the Lord could keep us entertained until
Yeah.
ever,
Throughout eternity. Yeah.
but yet he's so simple.
Hmm.
How could something
Don't
be
you feel
so
like,
complex that be so simple?
yeah. And I feel like the more you know him, the more you discover there is to know about him. Like you
Yes,
realize how much you still have to learn.
yes.
And like you said, it to give him that kind of love just when you think you've given your all, you find out, oh, there's some more. There's
Yeah.
some more to surrender and
You
give.
know
And he's
you know, when people hear stories about somebody showing a kind act, you bring
mhm,
tears to your eyes, and it's really an expression of God because God is love.
yeah,
When you start understanding that God is love, you see God working everywhere.
yeah. And sometimes I think those tiny and small acts of kindness are maybe some of the biggest things that
Yeah.
we will do in heaven when we look back.
Yeah.
Because I know you are ambitious and driven, and I am too, and very goal oriented and want to accomplish. You don't want to leave any stone unturned, and and I do think we were created like that. So I'm not saying that's not good, but I also think sometimes he's like, you're kind of making it harder than it is, Marcy. Like I'm not really counting on you to do all of the things, but just like you said, to rest in that simplicity and um, savor the moments with him and to the people around us, and just yeah, worship through loving somebody.
There's a cool little word game that I like to play, and it's if you write on a piece of paper, to do, and then you
Uh-huh.
have, and then you write be. So I just wrote do have be right here. Okay. Because
Yes.
most of us are programmed that if I do what I need to do, I will have
Hmm.
what I need to have, and then I will be who I'm supposed to be.
Yep.
Do you feel struggle? Do you feel, what's the word? Hustle, striving. I got to do it,
Yes.
then I'll have it, then I'll
Yeah.
be it. And in
Hmm.
the kingdom of God, it's backwards. He says,
Yes.
Marcy, if you'll just be who I called you to be, you will
Hmm.
have what you need, and then you will
Hmm.
do what you need to do.
Yep.
And so
Yep.
going to that word of be, it's a really powerful word for me because
Hmm.
in that word be, I think I just need to be Kelly. I need to
Hmm.
not take care of myself. I need to not be
Yes.
so hard on myself. I need to rejoice in the masterpiece that God created in me because, in Ephesians 2:10, it says that he created us a masterpiece. And when
Yep.
you look that word masterpiece up in the Greek, it's actually a poem. So it's like I am a poem written by God that I just need to be, right? And then
Yep.
I'll do what I need. I'll do what I need to do. Ah, that feels good, doesn't it? Does that feel better to
Yes.
yourself?
Yes. And it takes so much pressure off that we put on ourselves. I don't even think other people put pressure on me, but just in trying to make sure that you because I don't want to miss anything. I would rather ask forgiveness for a sin that I committed than have regret about something that I didn't do. Like I don't want to leave anything on the table,
Yeah.
and which ties right into the hustle and grind. And I'm like, sometimes, yeah, just sit down and be quiet for a minute, and let me. I got you, Marcy. You need to settle down. And I think
Look at,
at this age, go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. I'll be in March. I will be 49. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
And
Yay!
so we're close to the same age, right?
Yeah, I got you by 3, but
Okay.
yes.
But, if people out there that are listening are kind of like us that are, maybe could be wired a little tighter and are achievement driven, and the list makers that when you mark through that list of accomplishment, it releases dopamine inside of your body,
Yep.
Um, I mean, just I like to think about Joseph and about like who Joseph was. God called him to deliver a nation that would not perish out of starvation, right? A
Mhm.
whole nation. When
Yeah.
he was born, he was called to that.
Yep.
And he had that dream. And his first
Mhm.
response is to go and say, well, you're going to bow down to me. And I'm
Yeah.
not sure it was out of haughtiness. I just, think it was out of immaturity.
Yeah.
Look where God took him, and he
Right.
ended up fulfilling the purpose of God on his life, even though
Mhm.
he walked through all of that garbage. If you haven't read the story in Genesis of Joseph and his coat of many colors, I mean,
That's
but
right.
we just put so much pressure on ourselves that the responsibility's on us.
Yep. Yep, we do. And we have the responsibility, but mostly it's to yield and just follow and not,
Yeah.
invent,
Yeah.
uh,
And
you know.
in the same conversation, I promote discipline.
Oh,
I
yeah, me too.
a vision board. I promote, let's talk about your goals. Let's move towards those. Your daily habits,
Mhm.
produce that. And so it's a beautiful dance. I think that's what
Yes.
it's a beautiful dance of I'm just gonna be, but in that being, I'm gonna mix in a little the discipline and the
Yep.
vision and putting people around me that I need to be around me.
Mhm.
So I think
Yeah.
that posture place of being is, my goal for 2024 is
Yeah.
just be, if that makes
That's
sense.
No, that's good. That's really good. You have touched on something that I actually wanted to talk about, and I listened to Annie F. Downs, That Sounds Fun podcast, and she teaches and preaches, and but she did a series earlier this year that I thought was so interesting, and obviously I am not to scale with her, but just the concept, I think, of thinking about it and start maybe putting some of it into place, and she called it building a board. So if you take your life and you are going to build a board of people around you, kind of like a board of directors for a company. And if you own a company and you have a board of directors, they give input into the company, and everyone probably has a little bit different perspective, maybe an expertise, and then they offer what they have to the company, and together that helps the company go further. So if we were to look at it kind of in a personal development model, or for an individual and not necessarily a company, it would be taking a look at who are the people that are around you, and what are you taking in from people. Also, what are you pouring out? But I know you've heard it, because I don't know if it's John Maxwell or another another person, but you're going to be the equivalent of the 5 people you surround yourself with.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's so good.
So when you take a look at that, and you just start looking at the different areas, I think that a personal coach, whether it be spiritual, physical, financial, um, emotional, business, somebody to that you work with, they don't do the work for you, but they kind of guide you in the process,
Life
would
changing.
be
Absolutely right.
important.
Mhm.
Yeah. So what do you I know that you are a coach, and you talked a little bit about being a holistic coach. Would you explain to people what that means?
You bet. Yeah. Well, this past year, I've been in prayer for several years about, the season that God was taking me in, had several things on the table. But last year's word for me was discipleship, because I had done a little bit of motivational speaking, keynote
Hmm.
speaking, different things like that. And while I still love it, the Lord was showing me how much more He could use me is to walk alongside somebody for a little while. And
Yeah.
so he gave me the word discipleship, and then I just started praying about being a life coach, really got some confirmation on that. So I'm building my life coaching business, probably for the past maybe 8 months, something like that. I've been doing it. And I mean, it is tremendous the difference. And I'm not saying this because it's me. I'm saying this for the principle of my clients and the other clients out there that have gotten a life coach that are willing to meet with somebody every single week, to be honest, to set some goals, to receive some inner healing,
Yeah,
because I don't care who you are, if you're breathing, there's something in your past that you need some
yes,
healing from.
that's right.
And when I was telling you, I would consider myself a holistic coach because I believe we are body, soul, and spirit. Now, the
Yes.
body being, what you're seeing right here, this is my earth suit, is what I like to call it. I have to have this to walk through earth. This is my
Mhm.
temple. I got to take care of this. If I believe I'm commissioned by God to go out and expand the kingdom and, to do all these wonderful things, I've got to take care of this so I can live a long time. I want to live every day that I'm ordained
Mhm.
to live and be able to be healthy and to feel good. And then spirit, which is the place that God speak to us, our spirit woman, our spirit man, and then our soul, which is our mind, our will, and our emotions. And God beautifully created all three of these things to intertwine together.
Yep.
So I love to coach people that are on the same page with that, that believe that they need to look at their spirit man, their spirit woman. They need to look at their mind. What are they thinking? Are their emotions ruling them, or are they a gift to them? Uh,
Mhm.
and then, are you taking care of your body? Because here's the deal: if you're sleeping 4 hours every night, and you're
Yep.
struggling, we can go back and we can say, what are you putting in your mouth? Are you moving your body? And how much sleep are you getting? And are you drinking the water, the
Yeah.
electrolytes that you need to drink? I mean,
Yeah.
so yeah, so that's really important that we bring all three of those back together. But I'm just sitting here and looking at my client list over the past 8 months. I have a 12-week program.
Okay. I was going to ask you.
And so as I look at those that have went through this 12-week program, and I look at the beginning and then I look
Mhm.
at the end, it's like, wow. I
That's
just
great.
commend them for doing the work, for showing up. It's just really great to have somebody in your corner that is, first of all, non-judgmental, because there's nothing you can
Yeah.
tell me that's going to change my view of you or going to shock me.
Mhm.
So we can get that out of the way.
Yep.
And so somebody you can be super vulnerable with, you can be real with, you can truth tell, because we can't go anywhere if we're not telling ourselves the truth,
Mhm.
and be able to set some goals for our life and move forward with that. But God has really used me in the area of a lot of anxiety this past year. So
Okay.
I get really excited when somebody comes to me with
Yes.
and struggling with anxiousness,
Yeah.
because I've seemed to be able to work through that with a lot of people and get them to a place of peace.
Okay. No,
I
that's
think
great
I
because
think that we have way too many doctors that are writing a bunch of antidepressants and anxiety medication,
mhm.
and that are band-aiding
Yeah.
what really God has already given us the tools to be able to
Yeah.
use to function and
Yeah.
walk through that. So it's really interesting in the past little bit that anxiousness has been a really big thing
Yeah.
that I've been able to walk some people with.
Do you, let's say, so if someone is let's just say somebody's like, okay, I'm gonna maybe build a board and get some input from some people and really do some work on different things. How do you know, like, do they bring you a topic to be coached on, or like a particular, like, do they say, well, I would like this promotion at work, so you guys work together to help them do what it takes to at least put their best foot forward? Or how do you know if you need a coach and if it's the right thing?
Well, I would say if there's any area of your life that you're feeling stuck in.
Okay, stuck.
So
Okay.
I'm just getting ready to hire a coach to help me with my life coaching business. That's going to
Yeah.
help me even launch this to the next level. So I mean, I don't think
Okay.
you can ever not get to the place to where you don't
Yeah.
need a coach.
No, I think so too. I just think people go, oh, I don't know if I need one. Sometimes if you're not in a corporate line of work really that is high achieving, I think A coach sounds like it might not be just for an ordinary, regular, everyday person.
I would say, is there
When,
an area of your life that you feel stuck? Like, I feel like I've hit the plateau of being able
okay.
to have my business at the capacity that I can do it out without a little bit of help
Mhm.
of somebody else pouring into me. So I'm ready
Okay.
to take it to the next level.
Yeah.
Say, do you feel stuck in raising your kids? I mean, are you losing
Yeah.
your temper every day with your kids and feeling frustrated and drained at the end of the
Mhm.
night? Feel like you need a glass of wine every night just to be able to function.
Yeah.
Um, are you and your spouse, do you have conflict there? Do
Yeah.
you have a business and you feel like I've hit the plateau in it? Um, there's just any area of life, I feel like if you're feeling stuck, then get somebody on the outside
Mhm.
able to look in and walk you through that little obstacle of getting unstuck.
Yeah. Sometimes just the accountability, I think, or being able to say things out loud and bounce it off of another
Yeah.
person
Most
clear,
people answer their
clears
own
it up.
Most people
Yeah.
answer their own questions, and a
Yeah.
good coach is gonna allow you some room to be able to do that, and, I mean, I'm not here just to come in and tell you the answers because
Yes.
it's crazy on how I mean, when I was young, I felt like I knew a lot of stuff and nobody was listening, and
Mhm.
and I found out if knowledge was enough, you'd have to pay to get in the library.
That's right. That's right. You also find out maybe I don't know as much as I thought I knew when I was 25 or
Yes,
35.
yes.
Oh,
But if I was
okay.
coaching you and I knew the answer right away, I
Yes.
no, my job is just to let you possibly discover that answer on your own because that's an aha moment that will stick with you forever.
Yes.
And
Yes. And there's
so,
a big difference.
yeah,
Mhm.
one of my favorite questions is, well, somebody says, I don't know. If I ask a question, because I ask a lot of questions, and if I ask a
Yeah.
question and somebody said, well, I don't know. And I would say, well, if you did know,
Yeah.
what would the answer be? And there comes the answer.
Yep.
I think we have so much within us, Marcy, that
We
is
do.
tapped. And sometimes we need somebody to help unravel that greatness within inside of us that we already possess.
Mhm.
It's just got to be brought forth and dusted off. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't have, depending again on who you surround yourself with, just friend wise or in your community. I'm in a strong faith community with my church. And then I've got friends even within that church that are more my inner circle.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is, we can bounce things off of each other and without any concern of they're going to think a certain thing about me or discount me, or they're not going to think I'm good enough or blah, blah, blah. And you really, if you've got, like you said, a non-judgmental space, and then someone to maybe ask the right questions and not let you off the hook with, I don't know,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
really does make a difference. What would you say? What would you say is the difference? And I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but I think
Mhm.
I think you're going to know the answer. If there is an answer, what is the difference in a life coach and a therapist? What would you say?
A life coach is going to move you forward. Is more forward
Okay.
based, more
Okay.
oriented, and a
Okay.
therapist is more probably going to be dealing with possibly the past hurt and everything. Hmm.
Yes. Okay. I think that makes sense. I know there's some crossover in all of these things,
Yeah.
but
But
I
mainly
wondered
my
what.
job is moving forward. But if we can't move forward, then I will go back and we will unravel. And most of the times we all need something unraveled, right?
Yeah. Yeah. For
Uh,
sure.
so I have you ever heard of Sozo healing before?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But explain it, because I think that it might not be a commonly known.
Okay.
Um,
Trauma, we've all experienced some trauma. And if that trauma is not dealt with and not healed, then most of the time we're filtering life through that traumatic event.
yeah.
Doesn't matter. Trauma is trauma. So it doesn't have to be this big earth shattering. You were kidnapped for 3 months and abused.
Right.
It can be whatever. It doesn't matter. It's
Right.
trauma to it all. Uh,
Hmm.
so what I like to do is to get people to go back to that if you're believing a lie, when was the first time you believed that lie? then if we can lead back to,
Yeah.
when my dad told me, or when my ex told me, or when
Mhm.
whatever that was. And so if we can go back to the first time when that lie started, and
Mhm.
there's just an exercise that I like to lead people through, going back to that place and asking God, where were you in all of this?
Yeah.
And when people will truly do that, God shows up and he uniquely shows them where he was in that traumatic event that causes that event now to be whole and healed.
Mhm.
And so when they look back, they don't see the trauma, they see Jesus.
Yeah.
And so, and this is something that people can practice at home. Like if maybe
Sure.
you don't have the resources right now to hire a coach. You don't have
Mhm.
somebody in your life that works in inner healing. Just sit here, go back. Where was the first time that you remember the pain? Where was the trauma? And I want you to ask God, where were you in this?
Mhm.
I've also found out, Marcy, that God loves us to ask him questions.
Mhm.
And so questions like, God, what do you want me to know about this situation? Because we're asking why. And I think it's
Mhm.
the wrong question a lot of times,
Yeah.
instead of what do you want me to know?
Mhm.
Why did that happen to me?
That's
What
good.
did that happen to God, what do you want me to learn? What do you want me to know from that? And when we take all of this stuff back to the Lord and have these conversations and allow him to encounter us with, he was always
Mhm.
there.
Yeah.
He is good. He's always been good. And
Mhm.
it just provides healing, and then people can move forward. So, I like to tailor fit my life coaching to, if that is comfortable for somebody, if
Yeah.
they're if their spiritual beliefs line up with that. Most people follow me on Facebook and social media, and you know
Yeah.
most people
Yeah.
believe close to what I believe
Yes.
spiritually before they hire me.
Yes, you're a faith-based coach, and
Yeah,
it may
yeah.
not be on the coaching may not be on the Bible directly, but
Right,
you're
I
that's
am a
sort of the
Christian, and
premise.
I'm welcome to, I'll coach anybody
Yes.
where they are, but most of the people that are attracted to me are also, believers.
Yes. Yeah, that's
So,
good.
but it's just, it's a wide variety of, let's make sure that we are not believing the lies. If we're believing a lie,
Mhm.
let's go back to that place. Let's work through that so that everything is not filtered from that place,
Mhm. And
and
yeah, and
let's
then it kind of frees you
go
up.
move forward. And, um You know, I
Yeah.
I, I'm John Maxwell certified, so that's where I get my
Yes.
certification with to be a speaker, trainer, coach, with all of that. But I think more so my qualification was life. You know,
Yes.
I was 18, almost 19 when I met my husband. He actually had was married. He's 12 years older than me, so he was married and
Yes.
had 2 children, before me, and then we had 2 boys together. And then, being able to, like, work through all of that and, allow God to heal me, because I see you have my book there, and,
Yes.
my book was an offspring of my healing with the Lord, my mental state,
Yeah.
my mental health, and wanting to leave a legacy, realizing that if I didn't become whole, then I was going to raise these kids wounded, and then they were
Yeah.
going to get the filter of junk, and then they were going to go out. You know what I mean? It was like,
Yep.
"No, it's
Pass it
got
down.
I've got to be whole." And so, um,
Yeah.
I was just reading a book by somebody gave me a book by Robert Morris about Destined to
Mhm.
Dream,
Yes.
and he talks in that book about how God forms your character, and then you walk in to the dreams to be able to feel the
Mhm.
destiny. But the ground level is that character. And
Yeah.
boy, I mean, I felt like so much of my young life was just like, I don't want to say wrestling with, but it's
No, but yeah.
character is not unicorn and rainbows.
No.
And so
No, and
walking
it's
through that
yeah.
and finding victory in things that were hard in my life
Mhm.
and coming out on
Yeah.
the other side, it's like, now I am somewhat Fixing me 49. I am just now somewhat feeling qualified. Okay.
Mhm.
I think I can
Yeah.
help.
Yeah, I think so too. And just we were talking about um, it's January, lots of New Year's resolutions, lots of people in the gym. I literally just said I need to quit eating so much food or maybe stop eating the wrong kind of foods.
Yeah,
But
that's a better verbiage.
yeah, which is all that's great and that's wonderful. And like you said, your health is extremely important to be able to do what you've got to do and just in order to feel good and live a good life. But kind of I think at this point in life and this point in the year is kind of a good time to reflect on what am I taking in and is everything, and by taking in I mean on television, books, my phone, what I follow on social media, what I binge on Netflix, the people that I listen to, the music I listen to, literally all of the media that comes at us. And I don't know about you, but there comes a moment where you have to unplug a way more than what we're encouraged to do in America.
Yeah.
And I know for myself personally, just that time of silence and solitude, adding that into my daily, what I call my quiet time. Um, because I'm really good at, like you said, I like to check the boxes. I'll read my devotional, then I'm going to go do my reading that is separate than that. Then I might read another book that's some kind of spiritual growth book. And then I might, listen to a particular thing, but just sitting there in
Mm.
stillness, asking the Lord, what do you have to say to me?
Amen.
What, you know, um,
So good.
and it's so hard to make myself sit still.
Well,
It is a,
it's been
oh,
yeah. Well, number one, you're golden. You're naturally
yeah,
built that way. Number two, everything in society is feeding that to go do.
yeah,
And so it's I love that you said that because we're fixing to start a home group this Tuesday, and my
mm-hmm,
husband is going to be teaching on tuning into the voice of God, hearing God. But he was talking to me the other night about how we need to turn our verbiage from prayer to listening prayer because we should be
mm-hmm,
listening a lot more than we're talking.
yeah, exactly.
Have you ever heard a word from the Lord, Marcy, and it
Yes.
changed your life? And,
Mm-hmm.
as much as I promote life coaching, as much as I promote, counseling and all whatever
Yeah,
form you wanna
all
put
the
it,
things.
I'm telling you, one word from God can do
Mm-hmm,
more than 6 months of counseling.
mm-hmm,
But the
yeah,
problem is we're not listening and we're
mm-mm,
not asking the right questions. We're asking why, and we're in a victim mentality,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
focusing on the goodness of God instead
yep,
of asking a good God who we have, such faith and belief in, what
mm-hmm,
do you want me to know? And after
mm-hmm,
you ask him, what do you want me to know? What do you want me to do?
yeah,
Sitting with him and he will always answer you.
yes,
So just we're going to be focusing on the next few weeks of doing a life group and, helping people to hear the voice of God, which I
mm-hmm,
think is absolutely tremendous. And, one of my questions I like to ask people is, what's your morning routine?
yeah, yeah. That tells you a lot of things. I was gonna add my next question to you is going to be, what is your morning routine and what do you take in on purpose?
Uh-huh. And so it'll change different seasons of life, but my morning routine is, when my alarm goes off, get out of bed, I drink my electrolytes because I believe the first
Yes,
thing you drink in the morning is very important. So if you're drinking coffee first thing, I encourage you put some salt or electrolytes in a drink, get a big glass of
yes.
water. Then I make my coffee. I've already taken my supplements, and I'm sitting down with the Lord, and whatever I am in at that moment, I
Mhm,
will. It's a smorgasbord of sitting down, talking with the Lord, reading whatever I'm reading. Most of the time it's a Bible, sometimes it's a book. I'm not super religious over that, but I am a word girl. I believe,
Yeah.
there's power in the word of God, and it
Yeah.
lights the path and all of that. And I have a lot of note taking with God that one day if I keep all these and my children find them, they'll like, what the heck is this? Well, it makes no sense.
That's right.
But I'm kind of like daily, like come back to the Lord saying, man, in this world that you have placed us in,
Mhm.
I feel fragmented sometimes. So I feel like,
Mhm.
God, what am I scared of? That's a
Yeah.
big question. What am I fearing
Mhm.
right now? Oh God, yeah, I got to be truthful. I am fearing that I am going to get on this podcast with Marcy today and have nothing to say and embarrass myself and my family and not do you justice. And
Yeah.
then God says, I've called you to be
Mhm.
to be the voice, to be all of that. And I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. Thanks, Lord. And so then I mean, because I mean, we all have fear and
Mhm.
every single day we're going through. And so it gets to the point of you already know what Satan's gonna throw at you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And before I even have to get in that place, I'm like, I know. What am I fearful of? All right, today I'm going to get on the podcast. Nope, I'm called. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, is anointed me to preach the good news, to bring sight to the blind, to heal the brokenhearted, to set
Mhm.
the captive free. I'm going to speak the good news. I am, I am called by the Lord today. And so
Yeah.
once you get through all of this, you can like, Satan, listen, your lies are, really not getting anywhere because I already know what it's going to be. You're going to throw at me.
Yes. Yeah.
But before you can get to that place right there, some of it is, God help me. What am I afraid of? It all goes back to fear. And
I
so
think it does
I,
too.
I feel like that I'm constantly in that place of truth telling with the Lord, allowing Him to speak back to me,
Mhm.
declaring it over my life, getting in the book and reading, praying over my
Mhm.
kids, getting up, and really learning to live in this place of it's not a religious act. Because I
Yes.
feel like I lived so many years condemning myself if I hit snooze and didn't get up and
Mhm.
spend all that time with the Lord, that I was just my day was,
Yeah. Yeah. As
yeah.
if he was bound to just that 30 minutes.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And yeah.
But knowing
And
that
if
he
he was gonna be mad.
yes, yes, yeah. So I'm really getting past that, and the more you get past that, the more you wanna be with him, the more you wanna ask him questions, I mean, I
Mhm.
have to do it on my way to an appointment, and, "God, what do you have to say
Yeah.
about the appointment today?" And
Yeah.
then learning to hear that. So, I mean, yeah, my morning routine is, I definitely like to talk to God.
That's good.
I'm in the season of asking a lot of questions
Mhm.
because his ways are higher than my ways.
Yes.
Thoughts are higher than my thoughts. And for
Yeah.
me to think that I need to sit down and tell God what I need him to do today.
Mhm. Yeah. Is a joke. Yeah. And
Yeah.
you wonder how much time poor God has to listen to all of us across the globe, tell
Yeah.
him all the things. We either complain or we give him the his to-do list to make sure that our little world
Yeah.
works
I'm
accordingly.
constantly thanking God for his patience.
Me too. Me too. Um are you a journaler, Kelly? Do you jot you just said you took a lot of notes. So
I am more of a bullet point note taker, but I
yeah.
am a huge fan of journaling. There was a season of my life that I did, and I actually used that as an assignment to slow down the brain.
Yeah.
So I do like the beginning of a lot of my clients, we will start them on a journaling.
Mhm.
But yeah, a lot of mine is just like, I mean, I have this book here, and I just want you to know I do not have it all together because if you go through here and I have notes in the front, notes in the back, notes in the middle, bullet points, long
Yes.
paragraphs, it's just
Yeah, me too. And some post-it notes strung out here and there,
yeah. But
whatever.
I know about I know where things are in my chaos.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you jot it down and the Lord works it out.
Amen.
You
Amen.
do
Yeah.
what you want to do. One of my a lady that I met in my ecclesia cohort was actually my coach, and her name is Bronwyn Lee. and she's written some books, very wise lady, Bible teacher. And her question is, what is mine to do? And I have really just let that soak in and become my question, because it gets so, I would like to fix things and bring things to completion. And let's face it, and if you read the word, you can look and see a lot of people had faith for things they never saw. And so we're sowing and being faithful with what
That's so
our
good.
part is. But I've just been really lately spending a lot of time saying, okay, here's the situation. What is mine to do?
Mm. I
And
love
sometimes it's nothing. Like
yeah. Yeah.
sometimes it's pray, or that's not your cake. So you let someone else handle that. But it's sort of it is a question to the Lord. And just in asking the question, I realize my small humanity and what I'm actually capable of. And through the Holy Spirit, I'm capable of anything he asked me to do. But he didn't ask me to do everything. And so
Which
I
kind of circles around to what we started with.
absolutely, absolutely.
I want to add on
So
to that a little bit really quick, if you're good with it, is
yeah,
identity. And I
yes,
think that when you're asking God, what is mine to do, it's allowing him to remind you of who he called you to be and what your identity
yes,
is. And we each have a specific call on this earth of an identity with the Lord. And most of our struggles are with our fault because we're believing a false identity.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, 100%.
And so, but when we're asking, what is mine to do? God can be personal with you.
Mhm.
It's like, Marcy, I have called you to.
Right.
And I think God has
Yeah.
names that he calls us. And this is really, I got this out of Jamie Winship's book. It's called Living Fearless. If you're wanting a good read, it's on Audible. But he really talks about asking God, like, who do you say I am? What is my identity? And I'm not just talking about child of God. I mean, if
Right.
that's what he says and you
Right.
have an encounter with him, then yes. But I'm talking about not the biblical religious answer, but God,
Yes.
what do you call me? And so not too long ago, I I flew to Tennessee. Jamie was teaching an intensive 2-day retreat. Now, I
Yeah.
thought this was a conference that you were going to, like we had worship, you had break. I mean, I thought it was something else. So I took my 20
Yes.
son and my husband with me, and we get there, and there's only 18 people for a 2.5-day intensive training. And so a wise lady told me one time, God has a name that you don't know. It's called Jehovah Trickster. He will trick you into getting you where he wants you to go.
That's right.
So we're
Yeah.
all of this and talking about a lot of, his teachings and the Lord and everything. And so there was a time when we were to ask God, God, who do you call me?
Hmm.
We got quiet and we listened with the Lord. Um, and the Lord spoke to me that I call you a free spirit called to set others free.
Mm.
And it's very interesting and personal to me because as a child, um, I I remember a certain person negatively speaking over
Hmm.
me that I was a free spirit in a
Yep.
negative way. And I carried that with me for so long that was really negative in the back of my mind. And for the Lord to use the words that were spoken over me at a younger age that were kind of negative, and then using it to say, that's who I called you.
Yeah. He redeemed the word for you.
Yeah. I've called you to soar. I've called you to fly. I've called you to release all that heaviness and to run and to help other people fly and to be set free. And
That's
so it's
awesome.
but just that time of me sitting with the Lord and
Hmm.
asking him that, it just unburdened me.
Yeah. And you might not have even known that was a burden to you. I think sometimes he's
Exactly.
so kind. Like
Yes. I got on
he
that
does
plane,
things.
I was not even thinking about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when
That's
I sat there and
awesome.
went back, it was like, and so I can carry things because I mean I'm just a strong woman.
Yeah.
And I'm a mover and a shaker, and I can get something done, and I can make something happen. And
Yeah.
and if you don't surrender that to the Lord, then
Right.
you're carrying a bunch of stuff, holding yourself responsible for everybody else's life, thinking that
Yes.
you're way more powerful than you could ever be. And then when the Lord
Yes.
called you to be a free spirit, release
Yeah.
on, soar. And then my one of my life's verse that the Lord spoke to me was when Jesus was teaching in the synagogue, and he got up and he said, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me." He was repeating, I believe it was Isaiah
Yes.
in the Old Testament. The Spirit of
Yes.
the Lord is upon me. He's anointed me to preach the good news, to bring sight to the
Hmm.
to heal the brokenhearted, to set the captive free, to proclaim
Hmm.
this is the day. This is the day of the Lord, the good news.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's kind of like my life's motto. So before I got on this podcast, before I go speak, before I go coach, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me. He has anointed me to preach the good news, to bring sight to the blind, to heal the brokenhearted. So,
Beautiful.
mhm,
Yeah. You walk in what he's made you. Well,
mhm.
hey, thank you so much for sharing. This time flies by when we're together.
Mm,
And so I just really appreciate you sharing all of your wisdom with us and your new year focus and your own personal practices, because I think that helps people, helps me. I always like to know what somebody else is doing, because I might steal part of their routine, or it might make me think about something in my own life. So I guess that maybe we'll make it an annual
Oh, that'd be cool.
January date.
Yeah, yeah.
But do you have anything else you want to say as we're closing up?
I'd say look back into last year, see what you liked. What did you didn't like? What do you want to carry on? What do you want to add on to that? I think it's really good just to sit in this time. Use January as a time of,
Yes.
reflecting on that. And it's really important that you remember your successes from last year. What
Love it.
happened?
Yeah.
Go through your camera roll and look at from January on. It was like, oh, there's awesome things that happened last year that people forgot. And take
Yeah.
note of it and think about it. And what do you want to take into this year? And then think about what were some of the hard things of last year? What could I learn? What did I learn from that?
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is just ask God questions. Be a question asker. Sit down with a piece of paper and a pencil and sit with the Lord, ask him some questions, and you know, take some of that pressure. Don't be so serious, take some of the pressure off yourself. Take a deep breath and be. Do not
That's
do.
right. That's
Be
right. It's going to
instead.
be okay.
Yeah, but
Well,
people can find me online. I do have a website. It's kellyjnorman.com. And so they can reach me from there. And you can purchase my book there. And if they're interested in visiting about some life coaching, I would love to chat with them. Mhm.
perfect. Okay, great. Well, y'all reach out to Kelly. Again, check out her book if you didn't get it last year. It's a great read and there's a lot of wisdom in it. And then, yes, she would be a fantastic life coach. We've worked together behind the scenes just a little bit last year, and she's a great human. She's what you want her to be.
Thank you.
So, well, hey, happy New Year, Kelly. Go do your thing, and we will see you next time.
All right. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you like what you heard, please like, follow, and hit subscribe to keep up with all future episodes. We'd also love for you to leave us a 5-star review. That wraps it up for today's Marcy in the Middle. And remember, whatever you're in the middle of, you're not alone. We'll see you next time.